I'm professor of pastoral theology at Gettysburg Seminary in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which is a whole other story, where more people were shot and killed on our seminary grounds 150 years ago than any other seminary in the United States because of the American Civil War. I have a PhD in pastoral psychology from Boston University, training at Yale Divinity School. And my seminary is a seminary of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, so it's a mainline church, mainline denomination. That's the context out of which Johannes thought it might be helpful for me to share with you how I have taught on a practical theology of children. I was just speaking with Professor Semmelink here, and he was saying how here and many other seminaries you will find you have courses in counseling. You have courses in counseling for families and material like that. We have courses like that also, but I was invited by my seminary to teach a class that involves some counseling material, so I invite the experts, frankly, those people who are competent in those areas of family and marriage therapy in which I don't have competence to teach, because it's a very specialized field. They wanted me to teach a course where there would be components of that. I bring in the experts, but to do more of a practical theology of children, using a practical theological method. And so I refer then to this text by Don Browning as kind of seminal, though it's dated, and that's the problem, 1997, where he speaks very much from the mainline Protestant perspective in the United States, saying the question and problems, the statistics that your president has cited, that Marcia was citing, the problems of family and children for us are not just, we're so impressed that those are in evangelical and more conservative churches, Bible-based churches are addressing these issues, and we've been saying, what about us? Don't we care? Yes, we do. So it's his attempt to set up a practical theological method, and some of you may be familiar with this method, where you lay out the problems as we've described them here. What are the problems? Then what does the Bible have to say? Also, we would say, what do systematic theologies have to say? What do historical theologies have to say? So that we may go back and reconstruct our pastoral ministries to help address this based on the wisdom, you understand, the wisdom we gain from this intensive study of systematic, historical, and biblical theology. Some students come to me and they think, oh, finally I can get away from biblical studies, and finally, because I'm a pastoral theologian, finally I can get away from historical theology. And I say, no, you will never escape. My job is to show you how you learned all those things so you could be faithful in bringing the gospel to the world, so you're not going to get away from it. And we deal with, so as I'm laying out this material for the students in my class, the counseling theory, bringing in the experts, those who know more than I also bring in, I brought in someone who got a doctorate of ministry in our context and from outside, and just to show the students how to do this. And she dealt with the question of betrothal ceremonies. Do you know the word betrothal? Yeah, we know this. Not practiced much anymore in our country. Betrothal ceremonies, because we have so many couples who are not married but cohabiting. Understand? Betrothal ceremonies as a way to bring about the promise within the church that, and you're shaking your head, and some were shaking their head saying, no, that's not the way to do it, but some were nodding their head saying, yes, that's the way to, in a way to encourage them to move forward. So you could see right away there was controversy saying, well, they shouldn't be doing this. The Bible says no, but others were saying, yes, this is a way to do it. So we get right into this question. I encourage the students then to research topics of interest, and they have passionate interest, and many of the topics you see here are very much the ones that we have dealt with. Questions on a pastoral theology of infertility, questions on children of incarcerated parents, a practical theology where we say, here's the situation. In many ways, incarceration is the new slavery in the United States, is the new slavery of black people in the United States, where they are prosecuted far more for drug use simply because they're easier to arrest, because they're doing it in the open rather than the white people who use it more in private. It's the new form of slavery, and saying we have these large populations in prison and we have all these children. What does the Bible say about, family life, and how can we set up ministries to address this issue? And something as common but important and necessary as the question of domestic violence, where we will lay out the problematics, lay out the statistics, and I help the students research these issues, lay out the issues, And then they will turn to the Bible and say, what does the Bible have to say about forgiveness and reconciliation? What does the Bible have to say about discipline and confronting the accuser? Well, the Bible has a lot to say about both those things if you quickly go through the passages. And so they wrestle with what it means to recognize someone is guilty, to recognize that we call for reconciliation, and also deal with psychological theory about how that is possible, all for them to come up with wise and faithful ways, which is what practical theology is. How may we say what we're doing is faithful and also wise in the world? So the students say it's a very friendly way because I punch at their interests and they punch back with their concerns, and they come up with topics that I would never have dreamed of, but I orchestrate all this and put it together in a way where throughout the semester they're working together and learning from each other in small groups and large groups to deal with these important issues in life.